You're listening to Cars and Coffee, your local home for IndyCar, Formula One, and sports car racing news.
Here on 91.3 WHJE.
And now, here's your host, Nathan Ward.
Hello, and welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. It is a very wonderful Super Bowl Sunday for all of those that will tune in later tonight at 6:30 to watch the Seahawks and the Patriots, and hopefully watch the Seahawks get their revenge from 12 years ago. Going into the actual content I have prepped for today, we have a few headlines, a couple things station side to talk about. Of course, next week is Riley-thon, where we get together here on the station and have a weekend full of shows where we raise money for Riley Hospital for Children. We raised a whopping $19,000 last year that we donated to Riley. Hopefully we could blow that out of the water this year. I will keep everyone updated on the Cars and Coffee Instagram, at carsandcoffee_WHJE, on how you can donate through me or through the show and make sure that your donation counts. So that's the main event we have going on. We will be on, the Cars and Coffee will be on, Oliver Mason and Ryan Powell will be coming back. We will be on Saturday, Valentine's Day, at 4 o'clock. So make sure to tune in there. I will leave a reminder on all the Cars and Coffee socials. So go follow those. I will plug them throughout the show. Going on to the headlines, NASCAR has banned the practice of drivers sticking their hands out of the window during qualifying laps to redirect air. This is most common on super speedways, and this comes after, I believe last year, Joey Logano had a modified glove that he stuck out the window to add more side force to the car. And you'd think it's a hand sticking out of a car, and it's not even that far because if you stick your hand out too far, the force of the wind will push your arm out. It's not that far. How much of an advantage does this provide? It's pretty big. Like it's a big advantage for these drivers that stick their hands out the window, redirect air around the side of the car. It helps the car turn more, produces more side force. But NASCAR has finally banned drivers doing that. I understand it's a safety issue. You can't really one-hand you can one-hand a lap around Daytona. It's really simple, and people do it all the time. But it's becoming a safety issue, and it's becoming a gray area in the rule book that they want to plug. So moving on to the Asian Le Mans Series, which I believe is still going on right now. The final race at Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi is still underway, but there was a crash earlier in the event that essentially sealed the title, not in a way you would think. It wasn't a title contender crashing. It was the number 25 Algarve Pro LMP2 car being driven by Michael Jensen, cutting off Memo Gidley's Ferrari and spearing into the Armco barrier. There was an hour-and-a-half red flag for barrier repairs. At that point, 75% of the race would not be completed, which is the threshold to give full points out. So that sealed the championships in LMP2. That sealed the championship for the number 4 CrowdStrike Racing by APR team, the Rolex 24 winning squad. In LMP3, that essentially sealed the title for CLX Motorsport in their Ligier. And the 74 Kessel Racing Ferrari is the champion of the GT class. So, that's how it will fare in the Asian Le Mans Series. So, Kessel Racing will get an invite. I don't think the LMP3 champ gets an invite. And CrowdStrike by APR will also get an invite to the 2026 24 Hours of Le Mans. And I believe those are the final invites that will be handed out for this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans. So, maybe not next week. Maybe next week, because I need stuff to do. Next week, I will go over with the guys all of the teams from IMSA, from the European Le Mans Series, from Michelin Le Mans Cup, and from the Asian Le Mans Series that have punched their ticket to this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans alongside the WEC field. Denny Hamlin has confirmed that he will race on in 2026 despite re-aggravating a shoulder injury that he suffered in, I believe, 2024. So this happened after his father unfortunately passed away in a house fire, and he was going through the wreckage of their house, of his parents' house, and he fell and re-aggravated his shoulder injury. I think he tore his shoulder like really bad in 2024. I'm trying to find the article right now, but Hamlin said that he will race on despite that. He says, quote, "I don't think the shoulder ever healed properly," and he noticed some issues going through the house, going through all the rubble. So Hamlin will continue because surgery is an option for him, but it would keep him out of the first 3 or 4 months of the season. So I believe he's waiting for the end of the season. He's going to wait till November, and he's going to get it done immediately after the end of the season. Or there's still a possibility he could speed up his recovery if he's out of championship contention by the time the chase rolls around. He bows out for the season and has another Toyota Academy driver, say Corey Heim, drive the 11, and he sticks to the surgery recovery and running his other team. And our final headline-only story is that the Rolex 24 results after 2 weeks have finally been set in stone and confirmed. This comes after a longer inspection process after the number 8 Tower Motorsports car was disqualified from the class win last year in LMP2. IMSA wanted to make sure that they got everything right before disqualifying another winner. So they did alert the public earlier this week that the winners had all passed inspection. So they were waiting on the rest of the field to get that done. So everything remains the same for the Rolex 24. No major penalties, no major disqualifications, nothing. Before we move on to talking about the NASCAR clash at Bowman Gray Stadium, here's how you can find us on Instagram and get in touch with the show, because I am always looking for new guests.
Want to get in touch with the show? Head over to the Cars and Coffee Instagram page at carsandcoffee_WHJE and send us a message. That's at carsandcoffee_WHJE. I'll try to answer as many messages as possible.
That's how you can find us on Instagram. So the 2026 NASCAR season got underway on a Wednesday night at Bowman Gray Stadium for the annual Clash exhibition race. This race I always think is a little bit of a it's a bit of a stunt now. Now that they don't have it at Daytona, they expanded the field to 23 cars. It's essentially the All-Star race, but at a quarter-mile track. It's fun, but it's a bit dumb. The race was delayed from the previous Sunday due to weather, specifically a giant snowstorm hitting the Carolinas. Bowman Gray Stadium is located in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. After an uninteresting but caution-filled first half of the main event, snow, then sleet began to fall at the 100-lap halftime break. In the second half, Ryan Preece led the final 45 laps after taking the top spot on lap 156, muscling his way past Shane Van Gisbergen after a restart 4 laps earlier. In a slugfest event marred by a Clash record 17 cautions, Preece pulled away after the final restart on lap 182 to beat runner-up William Byron to the finish line by 1.7 seconds. He became the third driver to win the Clash before winning a NASCAR Cup Series points race, joining NASCAR Hall of Famer Jeff Gordon and current driver Denny Hamlin, probably future Hall of Famer Denny Hamlin, in that distinction. The modified star, who started 18th and worked his way forward before and after the halfway break, extended one streak and broke another. He is the 9th straight different driver to win the Clash, but he's the first to win from outside the first 2 rows since the Clash went to the quarter-mile format at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum in 2022. Pole winner and reigning Cup champ Kyle Larson led a race-high 67 laps to Preece's 46, but Larson's race fell apart after the rain and sleet covered the track, leading to a 16th place result after the change from slick tires to wet weather ones. So, for me, the Clash is always one of those really interesting races. It's a very interesting exercise. I do like NASCAR returning to their roots a little bit with these quarter-mile tracks, but it's chaotic, to say the least, and the fact that everyone was kind of antsy because they'd been delayed for several days, that's probably a factor. The track is tiny, so like for people listening that go to Carmel High School at the football stadium down at the football stadium, they have a track for the track and field team. That track is the exact same length and width as the one around Bowman Gray Stadium, because Bowman Gray Stadium is a football field with a racetrack around it. But it's used more for weekly racing events than it is for football, but I do think it does double as a school's football stadium. I'm not sure which school, but it's it's in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's a quarter-mile paved short track and a gridiron football field. I can't find who uses the football field, but I think it's used by some like high school games. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a neutral venue for like rivalry games or whatever. But Bowman Gray, I've always thought, is a very interesting venue, but it's actually slightly asymmetrical. Turns 3 and 4, specifically turn 4, is slightly tighter than turns 1 and 2. I did not notice that, and it's really not noticeable like looking at it, but yeah, it's a fun venue. I like the Clash. It doesn't mean anything because it's not a points race, but it is a fun exercise in seeing what they can do with these Cup cars. But I think the major headline for the Clash and why people actually paid attention to the Clash this year is because NASCAR ran their new short track package with 750 horsepower and a little less downforce to make the car a little bit harder to drive. I think that led to a lot of bumping and banging, and that led to 17 cautions. So I'm looking forward to the Daytona 500 next week. I say last week is the 1 week where racing and football, there's no racing and no football, so I really didn't have much to do, but I did write a good show last week. Other than that, I'm looking forward to the start of the Cup season. I'm looking forward to the start of all 3 seasons. I'm looking forward to seeing Ram, another brand, back in the Truck Series. I'm looking forward to paying attention to NASCAR without having to deal with the utterly terrible elimination playoff system. And honestly, I think it's a pretty positive year coming up for NASCAR, and I think it will be a pretty positive year for IndyCar as well. We will get to IndyCar news here in a little bit. Coming up on our racecarsforyou.com feature listing is probably the ultimate one-make Cup car that you can get for under $250,000. We will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. This is Cars and Coffee. My name is Nathan Ward. Here's Those Shoes by the Eagles.
Don't go away. Cars and Coffee will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this, that means you're listening to a replay of today's show. I just want to say thank you for listening, and make sure to subscribe to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss another episode of Cars and Coffee, along with highlights from your favorite motorsport series. If you're listening on the WHJE website, go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just click the button below. Thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE.
Welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. That was Those Shoes by the Eagles. This week's racecarsforyou.com featured listing is one of the most popular, if not the most popular, single-make race car on the planet, a Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car. The 992 generation Porsche Cup car is one of my personal favorite single-make racers that sees action across the world in tons of regional championships. This example totals 24,405 total kilometers and 35 hours on the chassis and suspension, both of which were new at the start of the 2025 Carrera Cup North America season. It competed in 6 rounds of the 2025 season, benefiting from professional preparation and consistent maintenance throughout. This engine has 64.5 hours with the 100-hour service completed, providing confidence for continued running. All of the gearbox and all of that stuff is also maintained. The car is equipped with ABS and traction control and is the perfect car for an amateur racer with plenty of championships around the world to compete in. For some context on how many regional Carrera Cup championships there are, Wikipedia lists one. You have Carrera Cup Asia, Australia, Benelux, Brazil, France, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, Japan, Scandinavia, North America, and the Middle East. You can race these things everywhere, and from what I hear, they are very durable, very easy to drive, and very fun to race little cars. I love the 992 generation Porsche Carrera Cup car. I think it looks a whole lot better than the Porsche GT3 Cup car, the previous version. IMSA had that's what Porsche Carrera Cup North America was before 2021, was the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge. That series has since gone defunct, but there are a lot of previous generation Porsche Cup series around as well, like in China, in Argentina, Australia, Switzerland, and in the Middle East as well. And there's also endurance series for multiple drivers running these cars. They're very versatile and they're very awesome little Porsche 911 Cup cars. Personally, it's one of my favorite series to watch, and you can get all of this. It even comes with a spare set of wheels. And the car does not have air conditioning. That's the one drawback, but the car's not built with air conditioning. So you know what you're getting into if you get the car, but for all of that, it's a pretty bang for your buck car just because of the sheer amount of series around the world that you can race in. Like, no matter where you are in the world, there's going to be a local Porsche Cup series. Like, say if you get this car, there's going to be a series around you that you could enter it in, provided you have the money and the $195,000 that you would need to purchase this car. But considering the longevity, the reliability, how easy this car is to drive, how accessible it is for an amateur driver, that's a pretty good price for how much freedom you're going to get with this car, how many places you could race it. So that's this week's RaceCarsForYou.com feature listing. When we come back, IndyCar has a bit of a dilemma regarding one of its teams, and some other teams may be circling to get its engine leases. But if you want to take a look at that Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car, you can do so. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you can look in the description. Here's how you can find us on YouTube if you missed a part of the show.
Want more racing news and highlights along with full show replays?
241.428 miles an hour.
Head over to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss an episode of Cars and Coffee and highlights from your favorite racing series. Just go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids.
That's how you can find us on YouTube. When we come back, we will discuss how PREMA might not be able to make the start of the IndyCar season, if any part of the 2026 IndyCar season. We will be right back here on Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. Here's Ain't No Man by the Avett Brothers.
Don't go away. Cars and Coffee will be right back on 91.3 WHJE. Hi, if you're listening to this, that means you're listening to a replay of today's show. I just want to say thank you for listening, and make sure to subscribe to the This Week in Racing YouTube channel so you never miss another episode of Cars and Coffee, along with highlights from your favorite motorsport series. If you're listening on the WHJE website, go to youtube.com/@TWIRvids. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just click the button below. Thank you so much for listening. Now, let's get back to the show. We now return to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE.
Welcome back to Cars and Coffee here on 91.3 WHJE. My name is Nathan Ward. That was Ain't No Man by the Avett Brothers. IndyCar is currently facing the possibility of one of its teams missing the opening races of the 2026 season, with a paddock-wide test in place for Monday and Tuesday at Sebring Short Course, and an official test on the Phoenix Oval the following week, and opening practice for the first race of the season just 3 weeks away in St. Petersburg. The clock is ticking for PREMA racing to fill the 26th and 27th grid positions for the year. This comes after the team didn't attend Content Day here in Indianapolis, where the promos, driver headshots, and other broadcast assets are filmed. With the introduction of the charter system for 2025, Penske Entertainment capped its fields outside of the Indianapolis 500 at 27 cars, and while PREMA was not issued charters for its pair of entries, the series did accommodate its numbers 83 and 90 Chevys as the only two approved non-charter cars to run throughout the season. With the possibility that the team won't show up to the opening races and potentially may withdraw from the season, Chevrolet, the team's engine supplier, potentially has 2 engine leases to give to new teams. The big potential buyer of these spots is Dreyer & Reinbold Racing, which has wanted to pursue a full-time program again but has been locked out by the charter system. Interestingly, the series has added new qualifying procedures if there are more than 27 entries. For oval races, the familiar single-car qualifying process would make quick work of the matter, as the fastest 27 speeds produced during the solo runs would lock in the field. Assuming PREMA is on the entry list and Dreyer & Reinbold enters one car to bring the tally to 28, Dreyer & Reinbold would need to beat at least one PREMA car to take part in its select appearances. For road and street courses, last chance qualifications shall only occur in the event that there are more than 27 cars entered the event, and a last chance qualifying session will consist of all non-charter cars. So in this case, if you have one Dreyer & Reinbold car and the 2 PREMAs, that would be just a 3-car qualifying session that would take place before the knockout qualifying session that has become normal on road courses. The rulebook states that order shall be determined by the car with the best lap time in the practice session immediately preceding qualifications, and qualification order will be set in reverse order. It shall consist of single car qualifications, 2 timed laps with the fastest lap counting as the car's last chance qualification time. Each car shall be ranked in order of best lap time as follows. The car posting the best lap time is added to Group 1, and the car posting the second fastest lap time is added to Group 2, and only the fastest 2 cars earn positions in race qualification groups, and all other cars shall not be permitted to continue participating in the event. That is straight out of the IndyCar rulebook, but PREMA is currently struggling to tread water, and other teams are beginning to circle for their engine leases. So the way IndyCar works with engine leases is that you can't just buy a Chevy or Honda V6 off of the company. To save money for the teams, they actually have an agreement that you can use. You sign an engine lease, you have 5 engines or so per entry for the whole year, and if you go over, you have to take a grid penalty. Depending on where you are, when you take that grid penalty, it's either 6 positions on a road course or 9 positions on an oval. But these engine leases, Chevy only wants to give out so many of them, and so does Honda. Honda's a bit more stingy with them compared to Chevy. But even without the charters, you still have a limited amount of engine leases because you're just going to hit the cap of what Chevy and Honda are willing to supply, because you're going to have a point where return on investment tops out. And if you keep giving away more engines, you're not going to make as much money. So that's the issue for Chevy right now. That's why Dreyer & Reinbold can't just show up. And also, no one's going to want to sponsor a car that isn't guaranteed to make a race, which I think is kind of why you saw PREMA not have any sponsors last year. And also because up until about April of last year, PREMA had enough money to just run their own car. They didn't need any sponsors. So that's kind of where we are at the moment regarding PREMA. Me personally, if I had to predict whether PREMA would make the grid or not, at this short notice to get an entire program together, yeah, Schwartzman and Eilot have been confirmed to return, pending the team's confirmation to return. But honestly, I don't think that means anything at the moment. They did miss Content Day. Another thing people noticed with Content Day is that Roman Grosjean is hanging around in the background a lot of the like driver vlogs that they record at Content Day. He is tapped to be the driver of the second Dale Coyne car alongside rookie Dennis Hauger. We're going to talk about the rookie class for IndyCar a little bit next week when I get Oliver and Ryan back here for Riley-thon. Make sure you tune in for Riley-thon. Make sure you donate. I will leave some info for that in the YouTube description and on the Cars and Coffee Instagram. We will be on at 4 o'clock on Saturday, Valentine's Day, February 14th. So you can listen to me, Oliver, and Ryan yap about IndyCar for a little bit and a couple of other things depending on what I feel like writing down. But if I had to make a prediction, I don't think PREMA's making the start of the season. If you don't have any prospects for funding at the moment, and you have less than 24 hours to get to Sebring, they're gonna miss Sebring. I don't think there's any way they're gonna be there. They would have confirmed that they would have been there already. You have a week until Phoenix. I don't think they're gonna make Phoenix, and I don't think they're gonna make St. Pete in 3 weeks. If you are at nothing right now, if you are at the ground floor, you don't have any funding. You have your 2 drivers and you have your 2 cars, but you don't have any funding. You're not going anywhere. I don't think they make St. Pete. There's a rumor that they won't make it at least until Long Beach, and there's a rumor that they may not even make it at all. So for the 500, everything's looking the same with one-offs as it was last year. No one's entering more one-offs for the 500 only, so that's at 34 cars. We are 1 car short of making it 33 for the Indy 500 this year. We still have 4 months until that's sorted, but it is concerning now. We may get into 2022 territory where there are going to be like multiple teams that have to cobble together a 33rd entry. But honestly, that's just, I think PREMA might be able to, like, if you can, with all your PR that you got for Robert Schwartzman winning the pole for the Indy 500, absolutely wicked qualifying run, by the way. If you have all that to bank on, all that PR, they could theoretically, as a non-charter team, cobble together enough money to run maybe 1 car for the 500. I don't know if they're going to run any other races. I imagine the 500 is going to come first if they're running a partial schedule, because that's the race that brings all the money. But it's really, in the next 3 weeks, I think this is going to be fleshed out completely, because if 25 cars show up to St. Petersburg instead of 27, we're going to know something's up. And I think that's where we're ending up right now. And also, I don't think that Dale Coyne's going to confirm that Grosjean's driving the now renumbered 19 car until they step off the plane in St. Pete, because that's how Dale Coyne operates, and that it would not surprise me at all if we just don't know for definitive fact that Grosjean's driving that car until he gets into it to start first practice, because Dale Coyne said both of his drivers will be announced by Halloween. And they got Hauger out before Halloween. Or no, they got Hauger out before Thanksgiving. And we haven't heard anything out of Dale Coyne since. So he's got a charter. That's going to happen. He's got to field a driver for that car somewhere. But, you know, it's weird. That back part of the field, those back 3 cars, still a lot of questions surrounding PREMA right now. And PREMA as a global brand has gone through quite a bit of the ownership shakeup in the last 2 weeks. The Rosen family, the founding team, or the founding family of the team, left the ownership group to their investors, and now their investors are looking for some sponsorship to keep the program going. I hope PREMA keeps going. I liked seeing them last year. I liked Robert Schwartzman winning pole at the 500 was really awesome. Like, that run was simply incredible. But I hope they come back. I hope they're back. More cars is always the best thing, but I do wonder if this sets a precedent for the charter system, if it's going to become nigh on impossible to run as an open team like it has become in NASCAR. Now, there are certainly still open teams in NASCAR, but there are no full-time open teams because they simply cannot afford to run. Now, that's a bit of a different story, because a lot of these NASCAR Open teams are smaller than PREMA. There are a lot of Cup teams that are smaller than PREMA as well. PREMA is, I believe, has stretched its resources too far across the world with its open wheel empire, so to speak. And I think that's really going to come back and bite them here probably within the next 12 months, if it hasn't already. But the difference is these NASCAR Open teams can get sponsors, and PREMA just can't. Or they thought they were just too good to need sponsors, which they were fine through last year without any sponsors, but that's drained their accounts. And even if you look at the other open wheel series, they don't have a lot of like team sponsors. They have pay driver sponsors. Like if you look in F2, you have PREMA cars that are sponsored by the academy teams that their drivers are affiliated with, but they don't have like real team backing sponsors. They have driver sponsors, or pay drivers, or academy affiliated drivers that pay the bills for those individual regional series. That's really all I have to say about PREMA, and we really just don't know if they're going to make it at the moment. Unfortunate, but IndyCar's a rough sport. IndyCar's hard to keep your foot in, or keep your foot in the door. But it does concern me that this is what it's come to for these non-charter teams. And if we're just going to have it stuck at 25 forever, where I think 27 is a good number, but I think really ideally you'd like to have an even number of cars. So 28 I think is a great amount for like 3 open cars, 25 charter cars. If you want to drop a charter or so in the next agreement, make it 4 open spots like NASCAR has. There's a lot of room to expand the system and make it better, but at the moment it may have proven to be detrimental for the PREMA team and any potential open teams. Dreyer and Reinbold, on the other hand, they've got plenty of sponsors. They have Jack Harvey, who's coming back with Invest. They probably are going to put Connor Daly in the other car, because Connor Daly, hometown driver, he's from Noblesville, but he brings a lot of money because of him being the local guy. But it's not hard for him to find sponsors. So Dreyer and Reinbold financially is probably in a better place than PREMA is, and Dreyer and Reinbold also has the empire of car dealerships to back up the team. But I want to see Dreyer and Reinbold back. They said 2028 with the new chassis. That would come with a cost adjustment that would come with hopefully bringing costs down. We don't really know how much this new 2028 car package is going to cost, but hopefully I get to see Dreyer and Reinbold back, and hopefully PREMA continues at least in some fashion. I know Callum Ilott has a ride in IMSA for the full season in the number 120 Wright Motorsports car. Schwartzman surprisingly did not go back and do I don't know what the word is, like a contingency seat at Ferrari in the World Endurance Championship or in some other series racing a GT car. I'm surprised he didn't do that, considering the volatility of his IndyCar seat. But hopefully we'll have a little bit more when we come back for Riley-thon next weekend, but that will have to be it for this week's episode of Cars and Coffee. My name is Nathan Ward. Thank you for listening here on 91.3 WHJE, and in memory of Brad Arnold, the lead singer of Three Doors Down, who passed away yesterday, here is their hit song, Kryptonite, to end the show. Thank you for listening.